Yeah. No.
Estás bien, como va? And welcome to episode 56 of the Sufi Podcast. It is I, Polo Parata, decked out in my brand new Super P hoodie that I created.
Yeah.
These will be in the Etsy store very soon, but I had to rock one to see how it came out. Came out perfecto. So
Gorgeous.
so we have a guest. Let's get to it. Because I could just keep on talking about nothing for another 20 minutes. But this guy does a lot of art, a lot of cool stuff. He's helping out with a brand coming up. It's the one and only
Ori Carino. How you
Hey.
doing?
See, now the reason why I didn't say his name, or I do know Ori, so it's not like I don't know his name, but he has, a name like meshing two nationalities into one. And I'm bad with, saying people's names.
Fair enough.
So I didn't want to mess his name up. So I said, you introduce yourself.
There it is.
How you doing, brother?
Good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what's going on, man? How's life?
Things are good. I'm raising a 13-year-old. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
a real New York story.
Yes, sir.
And just continuing my journey with the art.
Mhm.
It's a long journey. It's a lifelong journey.
So let the people know, like, what do you consider your art? Like, what genre are you in? If you're in a genre,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe one of my challenges is that it's kind of hard to put your finger on it,
Mm-hmm.
kind of sum it all up in
Yeah.
one phrase. But it's really involved with kind of how I grew up. I grew up around some incredible kind of post-Dadaist outsider artists
Mhm.
in the downtown scene, Lower East Side scene in the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
And so they had kind of a real vision about how you approach art. So on one level, just in terms of the urban environment and who we all are and this kind of pluralistic kind of space that we're in with so much ethnic diversity and just so many types of individuals and individual expression. So part of it is kind of just like looking into that and kind of lifting things up and kind of taking what we would normally see as mundane and lifting it up to almost a divine kind of representation. So I paint, I make paintings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I use an airbrush.
Mhm.
I use this freehand airbrush technique.
Mm.
I think this year, I've been airbrushing for 25 years.
Mhm.
And so that came from doing spray paint. And that goes into all these cool techniques and deliveries and this cool project I'm doing where I call it analog holograms, where I do these freehand airbrush paintings on silk. And then you do layers of silk and they have this incredible kind of effect that happens from that.
Was that one of the ones you had on Instagram? Because I know you had one where it looked like silky, and then I saw the image.
Yeah,
that's dope, bro.
That's right. Yeah,
That's
so
dope.
that's
You
wild.
gotta copyright shit like that, bro.
Yeah, it's something that I came up with, and I've been developing it for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you'll see copycats out there. But
that's
you
what
know
I'm
what I
saying,
mean?
bro.
But in terms of the technique, and that freehand airbrush, and the methods that I've kind of like put together, good luck. Good luck, you know what I mean? Because that's some real art right there.
Yeah, bro. Because
you know?
because one of the reasons I wanted to interview you is because I remember when I first met you back at Studio 111 Brooklyn. Shout out Jimmy. Anyway, when I met you there, you showed me something where it was like a building. Something you showed me was a piece of art, and like you was burning it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yo, that's fucking wild.
Yeah,
Like,
so that's a whole nother thing.
yeah.
You know, so and that's why it's hard to put your finger on my work, because I think, you know, it does go into sculptural installation, site specific and durational work, and but that stuff, yeah, that I really, man, that means a lot to me. Because what that is a project that I started in 2001, where I was taking bricks from the Lower East Side and then chopping them into little bricks and making these broken building sculptures. And then a few years after that, I connected with this architect artist named Ben Armas, who's Venezuelan, who came here as a teen, and ended up going to architecture school at Pratt. And we really dug into that project. We made a bunch of broken buildings, and then we burnt one in the street in Brooklyn. We burned it on 40th between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. It was like a spot where I could do like a burner, like a piece, like before cops came, like graffiti piece. So I thought, you know what? Let's just burn it right here. Burnt it and took the photos, and then took the ashes from the burn, and then made these burn building paintings with that. So that was like, but you know, those sculptures, they're like a sculpture of a memory. It's like something for us, you know, something where like, you know, these streets that we live on, all the people, all the grandmas that cook the soup for the kids, you know, like all the people that played the music that contributed to like the cultural, you know, milieu of the city, like those bricks have all that energy and the spirit in them. And then to take those and to make these sculptures, like a sculpture of a memory, like something that it feels like where you were, and it has all those like indications and just brings you back. But it's like, you know, they were kind of a vessel to like put your wishes into, and kind of like, you know, they became this elevated idea of the city is the essence of the city is that it's available. You know, it's available for us to make our personal kind of contribution, you know, to elevate our surroundings to like the level of divinity. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, man. Because when you showed me that, I was like, because he showed me and Danny Cortez, and man, we were like, whoa.
Man, I love Danny's work. See, Danny is doing like real replicas. I can't even step to that. You feel me? Because like that is like, it's the perfect thing. Mine, the building sculpture is a little more conceptual. You kind of just gotta like deal with it, you know. I bow to Danny's work because it's just that level of attention to like what the reality of the place was. Is just, man, that's amazing. You know?
Yeah, and Danny's just getting better and better. Like, you know, he's to me, he's still like going up.
Yep.
And it's just the sky's the limit.
Hey, man,
like when he gets to his apex, he's gonna be like
forget
amazing,
about it.
bro. Like, he's already like amazing, but it's just you can't even realize like what he can do.
Yeah, I'm 100% with it. Yeah.
So, what other art do you do?
You know, I grew up doing graffiti and murals.
Yeah, because my boy Pito.
Yeah.
He said, yo, that's my boy. He told me, yo, that's my boy. I'm like, yeah, okay.
No, we grew up playing ball together.
Yeah,
and stuff
man.
Like that
he was
in
like,
the park.
Like excited.
Yeah, that's my people.
Yeah,
exactly.
man.
Yeah, you know, it's like the neighborhood family, you know. And, you know, when I was a kid, there was artists that we were kind of aware of that were like the pedestal, that were like the top of the top. And in terms of like what was current in New York, right? So I grew up, my younger brother's dad is an artist named Toyo Tsuchiya, and he raised us. He was with my mom since I was 1. And he founded a group called Rivington School, which built the first junk art sculpture garden. And they had the very first art on display in the Lower East Side. So they started the Lower East Side art movement of the 80s. So they really had kind of a close-knit group of friends, And those were the artists that we really respected. So there was a guy named David Hammonds. He did something called the Bottle Cap Basketball Court when I was a kid. And that was like the mountaintop of like current artists. So like Tsuchiya, who was doing these 1-year performances in the 80s. He was like our close family friend. And these kind of incredible like art actions that like required so much like sacrifice and dedication. And it was kind of this idea that art is not a way to make money per se, but what it is a way, it's a form of ethics. It's a way to give. And it's like an ethical way of life when you stay dedicated to kind of a true form of art. And there was other artists in that mix, you know, Kwok Meng Ho, Tovi Halleck, and so many like epic artists. Karen Black did her first performances at 99 Nights at No Say No, which was the social club. That's a whole amazing story that I could get into. Yeah. But then there was the museum artists and like the classical artists that we really respected. And but once you turn 11, 10 years old, 11 years old, New York City, 1991, 1990 is graph. Right. Graffiti was like the ultimate art form. If you wasn't doing it, you couldn't even say you was doing graffiti. If you didn't do it that week, you couldn't say you was writing. You know what I mean? So immediately some teenager had given me my first throwy. And I remember I had won a contest to do the cover of a book for this thing. It's like a music improvisation teaching method called creative ability development. So I won this little contest and my signature was a throwy. Yeah. And I was 11 years old. So graffiti really like taught me how to paint. And it also gave me a portfolio that I could use to get into art schools and art programs and stuff like that. So graffiti was just like huge for me and just helped me to become like a real painter, I guess, you know. And then, you know, that's flash forward to this past year and a half, 2 years, I got introduced to this whole other side of art, which involves technology. And I linked up with this incredible creative technologist named Mehow Skalski, who basically he's like an expert of orienting artists to new technologies and then figuring out methodologies to engage that artist into an actual practice of using that tech. And I pitched him a project and we dug so deep. We worked 80 hours a week for a year straight. We're still working together. And we go around New York City 3D scanning objects in the street. Like something you pass on your morning walk that you get like a romantic relationship with. Like let's say it's a bike frame chained to a pole. But you see it every day. So eventually it becomes like a reminder, has some kind of like romantic association. Then one day someone clips that lock, that bike frame is gone. There was never a record. There was never a photo. There was never a map. So it's like we're taking those kind of temporal objects like that have a finite like timeline. And then we're like 3D scanning, making this high fidelity volumetric file that could be 3D printed. And then like extending its timeline. And then like taking that and making a sculptural assemblage like the tradition that I grew up around, the Rivington School guys. So we'll make a digital sculptural assemblage of scans and put them together. And then it kind of like elevates all those objects. It makes that assemblage like something that, you know, embodies like all of the potential, you know, all this ultimate beautiful potential that we're surrounded by on a daily basis. You know what I mean? And so it's like, yo, we grew up in the hood, we grew up in the inner city, and it's like, that's what it is. We look back and it's like, it's magic realism. It's like hip hop was being invented. It's like art movements were happening. Like, yeah, you might have scrounged to get 10 cents to get a 2 now and laters. You know, it's like we didn't have a lot of like things, but the culture and that atmosphere is just so special. It's divine. It's like it's really extraordinary.
Because so how long how long you did the graph for? You say for like young up until like early teens, or
no? I was like serious about it from from like 11 to like 25.
Man, also so you was graphing for for a while.
Yeah, and then I ended up like painting the Mars bar mural once a year for 10 years, and people let it live, so no one touched it.
Wow.
And that was from like 2000 to 2010, and then they knocked down the building. Then they put photos of my mural in the lobby of the condo without my permission.
Really?
Of course.
Corporations, bro. Corporations always doing some crazy shit.
That's right. Yeah. But so then I was doing, before street art was a thing, I was like, I want to do murals like without a wild style in it. See if I can make a wild style of just characters. And so that's what I was doing. But I kind of like you know how we are. We like go against the grain. Something becomes so trendy, you kind of don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's basically what happened.
You kind of got turned off.
I ducked out. I didn't like what was happening with street art.
Yeah.
Like I do not believe that putting a picture on a wall elevates it to the level of art, frankly. And I think graffiti was a real art movement, really special. And there was a real delineation. There was a distinction between street art and graph, and one of the main ones that I saw first off was that graph had more minorities, street art was more white,
right?
And then street art was just immediately embraced by like the commercial machine. Meanwhile, all these graph heads who literally put in the work to create something for all of us and had nothing. They were like broke. And that reminded me so much of Toyo and the Rivington School guys, and how anti-commercial they were, but how influential they were. How they all were just broke. It was all at the same time. It was like mid-90s. They were broke. The graph heads were broke. So I was not so happy, with but it's a little judgmental of me.
Right.
And in the end, I could see, I could vibe with all these guys. There's like so many incredible artists in every category. So I'm with it.
So now I think graph is more commercial now, you think?
It's more commercial, but what I really appreciate is it's being embraced at the institutional level.
All right.
And that's where it's at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like you see graph in museums now.
Exactly. Like, if you, like when I was a kid, Lee Quinones, if you ever seen Wild Style, everyone out there, if you haven't, you should. He was Zorro in Wild Style. And he was like, Lower East Side, he was our hero. He was our superhero. He was like everything you ever wanted to be as a graph writer, as an artist, the most whole car trains in history. You feel me? The first graffiti mural on a wall in history. You feel me? It's like, and a few years ago, I got to do a project with him.
Nice.
Big collaboration, did some big paintings. And since then, he's been in museum shows with Basquiat, so there's been a big elevating of that discussion. And then guys that I grew up around who were like really, really special graph artists are really able to make some credible bread, not just like doing logos for another company, but having some respect on their art, So shout out to Curve, one of my favorite artists out there. We was painting when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Sam, love you, Sam. And he ended up marrying my best friend as a kid's sister. And, so long story short,
so
I really
connected.
Appreciate that. I really appreciate what's happening with graph right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's making it better for everybody. Old graph heads, new graph heads. Now they have this open playing field where it's like, it's like, I think it's just stuff for everybody. Like it's like you can have a lane, Danny can have a lane, Al Diaz can have a lane. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just it's all there.
Yeah. But all respect to the graph heads. I don't talk about graph.
Right.
Because for me, graph is active. You know what I mean? And the people that are doing it, they deserve all that shout out. They deserve the real respect. Because when you're walking around and you see all the action, because it's action right now.
Yeah.
Like the pandemic was like the graffiti Olympics.
Oh yeah, right? It was the graffiti Olympics.
Yeah, so I give all the respect to them. That's not even my zone.
Yeah,
even though I was participating. Like,
that's what
that
I was
my
saying.
whole life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, that's how I got into art school with a portfolio graph.
But listen, you didn't participate in the graffiti Olympics of the pandemic. You're lying. You're lying. Everybody did. I don't want to hear it.
No,
everybody got a little thing in there. But so what else are you working on now?
One thing that I've been like digging into, and it's I've been airbrushing garments for a long time. For a long time.
Yeah.
And like even back when Supreme was just a skateboard shop, I was that
Remember
little,
that?
yeah, I was that little scrub rocking a fully airbrush sweatshirt.
Right.
No one was doing that.
Right.
No one was even doing full cover anything.
Mm-hmm.
So back then it was a way to show off your stuff without carrying around a black. But it was like a way to be cool, get noticed by girls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's always been in my mind, like doing a more elevated version of the airbrush, because you can make like a ultra luxury textile with my technique of airbrushing. And so I've explored some different things over the years. I did a collaboration with a brand called Batsheva, some close friends of mine. And she makes these beautiful dresses, and that was cool. And I did some things for Supreme and blah, blah, blah. But I really wanted to like do something myself that really dug into that concept. So recently I have been working with this incredible designer named Nadi Silvestri, and she launched a brand called Amihan, which is like an ethically produced, women minority owned company.
Oh, that's awesome.
The factories are women minority owned. The designs are like chic and elevate. I'm learning all these new terms to like talk about fashion now. And so that's this great new platform for me to use this airbrush, and we're coming out with completely airbrushed, like gorgeous pieces of fashion. So that's a real thing. We're placed in a bunch of magazines coming out soon, Vogue and BET Music Awards, and all these great things. So yeah, hopefully that's a real thing, and we'll see how it goes. But keep an eye out for it. Amihan, it's Amihan New York.
Yeah.
And it's Amihan New York on Instagram, and but it's gorgeous stuff. So I'm excited about.
So
that.
it's a women's wear brand.
It's like women's wear, and a lot of the pieces are genderless.
Okay.
And so we're making some men's stuff coming out, like more masculine stuff. But it's a cool line because it's like a whole wardrobe. You can combine all the pieces. So basically, with 20 pieces, you don't need anything.
That's what I think with the fashion stuff. I do think it's going to come to a point where stuff is genderless, where it's like you got to bring out stuff to where either a man or a woman can wear it.
That's right.
Because we're getting to that point anyway. Like we're knocking on the door right now. So,
exactly.
It's just just push the door open and bring out them pieces for the people.
No, absolutely. I'm 100 with that.
But nah, bro. That's so you like doing projects as far as like merch products? Because
I didn't.
Yeah.
I said no to everything for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And that was really because I was more concerned about engaging with the institutional dialogue of art. And I wanted to try to break into the middle class, like in that way, and make something that I can gain access kind of for my legacy and for my kids and just like everything, just like be involved in that discussion. But then now in the past few years, like museums went from saying you did corporate collaborations, so you are not allowed to exhibit here, to now saying, oh, this artist is so great. He can do corporate collaborations and he could also do his own art. And that, I think the pandemic kind of just like opened my mind up a little bit, where I had reached a level where, yeah, I could contribute something to a brand if the money was right, where it doesn't really infringe on my growth, like intellectually. So I think, I guess I had to mature to that level, and then the market had to like change a little bit. So now I'm open to it. I think what was cool about launching this brand is that it's a designer herself. It's not like this whole corporate mentality. It's supporting like minority owned, women owned business, which I think is like everything. And it's a way to like have original designs with my original airbrush, which I think is just like extra fly. So something like that.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah.
So any upcoming art projects that you got going on?
I'm doing this big project for a foundation. It's called Song Shooter Foundation on Henry Street, and they do artist residencies, and they kind of set up initiatives for inner city kind of young artists to gain opportunities by collaborating with people from different parts of the industry. So like a musician with a graphic artist with a this or X, Y, and Z or whatever the case is. And so I'm doing. It's a cool project.
Yeah.
It's a set of paintings that will equal a full building size mural. Then the mural will be divided up into individual bricks. And the foundation will raise money by selling these bricks, I think, as a digital asset or a print or something like that, as a fundraiser. And then when the individual purchases that individual brick, it's printed onto metal and then glued onto the actual brick of the building. So as the fundraiser is completed, the whole mural will be on the actual building.
That's
permanently.
crazy.
Yeah, so that's a cool project.
That's
I'm pretty
crazy,
excited about
man.
that. And then with Mehow, we're doing this big digital sculpture project, and we have completed 108 digital sculptures. So we're 3D printing them and looking into other kind of volumetric display applications. So we've already exhibited, around the country on different types of holographic displays and VR activations and kind of some AR applications as well. Because, I have paintings now that are AR capable. Where you point your phone at the painting and the object comes out 3-dimensionally and rotates, and then you can see what was behind the thing in the painting, if that even makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're digging into that, and then we will be exhibiting that. I'm working on a big show at Howell Happening Gallery, which is an amazing nonprofit gallery.
Al Diaz has something there.
Exactly. He did his graffiti show there.
Yeah.
And so they're a gallery nonprofit that focuses on highlighting the cultural legacy of the Lower East Side. So I originally met them because we organized a show of Toyo's art. So we'll be showing a lot of that stuff there. I don't have an exact date for that, but it'll be within the next year.
Man, what do you think about crypto and art?
It was wild, man. Like my gallery I've worked with for a long time named Ivy Gallery helped to launch Nifty Gateway. So Vincent Harrison, who is the director of Ivy Gallery, was asking me to make NFTs from day one.
Right.
Before they blew up or anything.
Right.
He was the guy that hit up people and asked people to make NFTs. And then people was like, what are you, I don't even know what that is. Like, the first Beeple's $2.50. Those are the $4 million ones.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, so I had early access. So I didn't want to do it, but
and every other artist.
But eventually
I
I thought of a project that I believed in, that I thought was good, whether NFTs existed or not. And because I did that project, we exhibited a lot of NFT conventions and rubbed shoulders with a lot of these crypto people. And it's no different than any other trading thing. I mean, crypto bros couldn't have said it better.
Right.
That's all that it is. It's just like, we had invitations to go to the Christie's NFT exhibition at Art Basel. Very, very exclusive. Like Beeple was there. All the top 20 selling NFT artists in the world were there. Probably equivalent of like $800 million or something.
Right.
And shocking. I shouldn't have been shocked.
Right.
But I just based on what NFTs and crypto is supposed to represent, which is access, right, for disenfranchised people, right? That's what we hear when we hear them talking about, open, blah, blah, blah. You couldn't have found a minority in there if you could be looking with a magnifying glass. Like that's how white and privileged it was. So, just to put it in perspective, it's like, NFTs really is a false equivalency. It is taking all these different types of, it's taking Garbage Pail Kids and putting it with Picassos and putting it with baseball cards and then calling it all one thing, So it's like, it's hard to discuss it anymore. I don't really. What I can say is that technology and the opportunity for artists to engage with technology to address real fundamental art issues, that is real and it's profound.
Right.
And how technology is developing as it relates to imagery and the creation of new forms and types of art is like serious. And if you like look into it in a serious way and you try to kind of find an opportunity to express something that was already a important form of artistic expression, kind of an important concept or conceptual underpinning or anything that has some gravity, then it's something really profound. And then I think artists can really dig in and make something really special, you know? So this was my little attempt, and within 6 months and a year, it's going to be kind of old, you know, but it's just all about just trying, you know, because that's what being an artist is. You really got to dig.
Yeah, because a lot of artists don't even consider the NFT stuff real. Like, you know, they won't do it. You know, they don't even want to figure it out. They're just like, nah, I'm good. But then there's some artists, you know, like my guy, King Saladin, who, you know, he's well versed in that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Brings out his art on NFTs, and you know what I'm saying, he sells. So I guess it's like, I guess it's what you like,
right? Saladin and Orange Schneider.
Yeah. Those my guys. But yeah, man. So that's the new art you said you got coming out. You doing any more? I know. Tell them about the silk drawing that you have it on Instagram. If you don't have this guy on Instagram, follow him. It's his name.
Yeah, ORICA
that I can't pronounce. But he show you, like, he has this technique that I told him he needs to copyright. You know, where it's like silk, and then you're doing the art, and then it's like you see the silky stuff going on.
Yep.
But is that like going to be like one of your new like installations? Or?
Yeah, so I'm doing really large pieces of that. It's basically painting. You know, it's using the airbrush. You can't really do it without using a freehand airbrush technique. And that's its own thing, and I'm really excited about those pieces, because it's like when I was younger, I wanted to make paintings, but I wanted them to be animated.
Right.
But I didn't want it to be on a screen.
Right.
And this is like a way for a painting to always be moving.
Yo,
you know,
bro.
It's always moving, and there's always a little part of it that matches up to your specific vantage point. So everyone has not only their own unique conceptual experience of it, but they're also having a unique view, a unique visual experience in their exact spot that they're standing, you know? So yeah, and those are just, I'm still digging into that. That's really when you make something up and you're trying to figure out how it's going to work. And now, you know, whatever, 15 years later, I'm still want to expand it and make it more extraordinary. And there's some concepts for that I can't actually talk about because they're so good. We talk about off the air though. It's like right now, and there's certain ones that I've been told by amazing art critics, like especially my boy Carlo McCormick, who's like my own personal superhero and like my soothsayer, and really he helps to guide so much of us. You know, he'll just tell me, don't you dare even utter that to another person. So when I come up with an idea, I'll go to Carlo and a few other people that I really trust their expertise and find out who did it, did they do it, when did they do it over the past 100, 150 years, really try to gain an understanding of where I fit in. And then there's a range of things that, no, they have not been done.
Yeah, but he's right.
You don't talk about it.
Yeah, he's right. You can't, because you talk about it, they run with it.
Yep.
It's like you talk about it and they'll do it.
Yep, exactly.
Just over the little information you give them, they'll just, let me figure this out.
Exactly.
You know, and then you're gonna be mad.
Yeah.
Ready to throw a ninja star at somebody's head.
Toyo raised me. He would always just say, you know, keep trying to make something new. No matter how good. I always was chasing perfection. I really wanted to impress him. My grandfather was an amazing artist who went to Cooper Union. He was a cartoonist. He made Betty Boop for Max Fleischer. So we had the very first Betty Boop ever made.
Mm-hmm.
He did Little Lulu. He did Pink Panther. So we had high standards. So I was always trying to impress Toyo. No matter what I put in front of him, no matter how good it was,
Mm-hmm.
he would say, "Oh, keep trying.
Right.
Keep trying harder.
Right.
You know, look, try to think of something new." And that's, you know, that's really what it is, you know. With the silk, it was just trying to figure out what's going to be new, you know, and keep trying to dig in, you know. And yeah, I do want to touch on Toyo's legacy a little bit. You know, Toyo passed away 5 years ago on Thanksgiving, and he's really, really kind of important figure in art history. He has some recognition, but he's really influential. And his photos during the 99 Night Performance series in 1982 are probably the most important document of 1980s site-specific performance art. And then he went on to photograph Taechung Chie doing his 1 year performances, and Monty Canson doing his Blood X and MoMA, and so many other great performances. Stella Arcane Between the Buildings, Karen Black doing her first Cracking the Egg performance. And so we currently, we spent the last few years archiving his collection. There's over 10,000 silver gelatin prints that he printed himself in his own darkroom in his apartment. You know, so he's like the Stieglitz, you know, of site-specific performance art. And then another reference, he's kind of like the Luis Lawler of site-specific performance art, and basically appropriating these live scenarios and then making a piece of art from it, which was the print. So we have all this beautiful art he made, 40 large-scale drawings, and we're going to be releasing the archive over the next few years. And so keep your eye out for that. There's going to be an Instagram. And if anyone needs any resources related to 1980s Lower East Side art history, the Rivington School, No Say No, and Kwok Mang Ho and Taylor Mead and all those people from that time period, feel free to get in touch for that. We're really excited to bring that to the public.
Yo, man, that's dope. You got all of that. That needs a show in itself.
That needs its own show.
That needs its own show, bro. You need to shop that around, you know? And just have the fucking pictures on the wall.
Oh, man, there's so much.
Bro, that'd be dope, bro.
Yeah, really incredible. Before he passed away, he was working with Clayton and a few other people to try to get a documentary made. So they did a lot of interviews before he passed. But essentially, he is the gatekeeper, Toyo, because he had the only document, the full document of that period.
Right.
So he spent a few years foliating all that stuff before he passed away, and they made a Rivington School book that he and Monty Canson, Istvan Cantor put together. That's out there. You could find it at, like, you know, Karma Bookstore and things like that. But so the materials are there. But there's a lot to do. There's people know the style because he influenced the way downtown photos look, the way punk rock photos look. That all comes from Toyo. That comes from that first photo installation he did in 1983. And so it's going to be just an amazing ride to bring all that out, you know, because I'll tell you, when I was in art school in Boston, I went to the School for the Museum of Fine Arts, and I would give lectures about Toyo. I would show people his portfolio, the professors. I had 2 different professors cry, tears falling out of their eyes, because you're seeing a part of art history that has already impacted you, but it's like the missing link. It's the part that, oh, that's what happened. You feel me?
Man, that's dope. I can't wait to see all that. So we're gonna wrap this up, bro.
Appreciate you.
It was awesome talking to you. Where can they find you online?
You know, the most current stuff is my Instagram. You know, it's Ori Carino, ORICARINO. I have a website, oricarino.com.
Yeah.
You could Google me. It's probably some information.
Google me.
Google me. You know what I mean? You could call me, text me, hit me on the beeper. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Hit me
know.
on the Sky pager, baby.
Exactly. But yeah, good question. Who knows? You know how to reach me.
I'm just saying, a lot of people watch this show, so you gotta tell them where to find you if you want to be found.
That's right.
You know, as I tell people.
Well, you know, I'll have a new studio in Manhattan soon. Love to have some studio visits. Also, I don't have a major gallery representing me right now.
Mhm.
So shout out to all the major galleries out there, the interesting ones. The ones that have some kind of like social context to them. You know, maybe even like a little tagline about equitability on your website. Maybe.
Oh, look at that.
But yeah, I look forward to being in touch with everybody. I think that's a decent way. You know, most people are Instagram or can go on the website.
Yeah.
Right? So I hit my email is ogc212@gmail. ogc212. Just like the original Gun Clappers, but it's my initials.
OGC.
Yep. Hebrew first name, Tibetan middle name, Italian last name.
That's dope. I wish I was that cool. I got this middle name, this, and this last name. Hey. No, my stuff is generic. Anyway, you can find me on Instagram, the Supi Podcast, Polo Prata on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. If you spend $5 on the Patreon, you can see us today. If not, you have to wait. It comes out tomorrow. So yeah, it'll be out tomorrow at 12 o'clock. If you sign up to the Patreon, you can get it today as soon as Walter sends me this files and I do the little magic to it. Thank you for coming, bro.
Thank you, Jean.
We will be back next week. Well, not next week. We'll be back. I don't want to lie to y'all. Suvi Podcast. We're out. Ciao.
Peace.